right. Hello and welcome back to Twin Cities Territory, our Minnesota Twins podcast here on the Foul Territory Network. I am Zack Pierce, the Athletics NASCAR editor here for some reason, alongside, as always, Dan Hayes and Tyler Duffey. Dan is the Minnesota Twins beat writer for The Athletic. Tyler, of course, a longtime major leaguer and Minnesota Twins. Guys, welcome back. For members of the 4.3% club, as we are, it's an uplifting podcast today. The Twins coming off 2 wins over the Tigers to start this 4-game series, and most notably Tuesday night beating Tarik Skubal, the 2-time defending Cy Young Award winner. So a great start. And Dan Hayes, you were there along with 500 or so other people. Curious what you took away from this solid start to the series.
Hey, there were 1,000. And hey, kudos to everybody in that ballpark the last 2 nights because that weather is miserable. We were joking with Derek Shelton before the game that we were going to open the press box for 1 inning. That did not happen. That was never going to happen. I sat downstairs for BP on Monday, and it was I'm glad I sat on the bench for BP. It was awful. Anyways, enough of that. But look, I think there's good fight. I think that we've seen good fight from this team in most of their games. It's nice to see it be rewarded like the last 2 nights. There's a lot of standout performances over those last 2 nights to get into that we'll talk about later. But I think there's more that's here than people maybe give it credit for. We've talked about payroll a bunch. It doesn't mean that the Twins don't have some talent mixed in and that there's not enough to get some nice victories like this. There's plenty of young talent that's trying to find itself on the field right now. And we've seen it, like those guys step up the last couple of days and what a difference it makes when you have a Taj Bradley, when you have Luke Keaschall going with the offense. And it's just cool to see them get rewarded because I hate the effort was there. But I mean, like this team has been in a lot of games. And here they are 5-6, and it's a lot better than 3-8 or 2-9, and maybe where people thought they'd be.
Yeah, being close to 500 goes a long way. I mean, you can ride that wave all year, and like you said, it's having guys kind of get their feet under them and get rolling. Like I said, Keaschall, I keep seeing Buxton, that catch at the track he made. Like that's just stuff that has to happen, but things, once you start depending on them, that's when the stuff starts rolling. It's knowing Taj Bradley is going to roll out of bed and he's going to give you 6 strong. It's stuff like that over the course of a season where you show up to the ballpark as a reliever or as a position guy, like a little less stress going into your day, knowing, at the time for me, it was like Jose Barrios when he was rolling. It was like, all right, he's going 7 tonight. I'm going to throw the 8th. Roger's going to throw the 9th, and that was just kind of the way it went. And so it's a settling in, it's a comforting thing knowing, I'm sure for the coaches too, for Shelty, knowing like, all right, I got a guy today going, leading off or pitching that I can just know that this is going to work today and not think twice about.
And hovering around 500, Tyler, in a division where low 80s might do it is certainly a little bit more uplifting too. And like I can imagine, yes, when you have starting pitching like the Twins have had so far from the top end guys, that's a huge benefit. Also, Tyler, you are the podcast's #1 Josh Bell fan who once again had himself a game.
Yeah, Texas boy. Yeah, I mean it's like we talked about, he's got 10 years in the big leagues, whatever it is, and these guys got talent. He can hit. He's seen enough to know what not to do at the wrong time. You hear all these guys talking about him post game. It's, Josh Bell said this or this or this. And, it's one of those guys, they probably brought him in just to be a good vet. And he is hitting every nail on the head right now. He's a switch hitter with some thump. Like I said before, if he gets hot, he can kind of make guys comfortable, same as Taj, doing his thing for the bullpen, things like that. It's like things can settle in when you have some sort of stability. And as the weather heats up, guys tend to get going a little more, and we'll try and ride the wave while he's on it.
Dan, it was very cold again, right? How cold was it yesterday?
Yesterday was actually like 44, but the wind chill was 37. The day before, the wind chill was 27. It's been cold. You know what we can go with? It's been butt ass cold out there the last couple of days.
Brisk.
Our last show was recorded prior to the Monday night baseball intro that kind of made a little buzz on the internet with a drone camera or whatever, wire cam, whatever it's called, showing a very empty stadium. And then, of course, the fight began online. Is it the weather? Is it that everyone hates the Pohlad family, which I know, Dan, is your favorite topic to talk about?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's funny how little I spend on social media now responding to things because it's just so ugly out there. And that debate is right at but we have this debate every year in April. I mean, look, there's no question that fans are down on the team. And there were a paltry number there on Monday. There was more of a buzz last night. Those fans on Monday night, there was one group of, I don't know, they looked like they were about 21. They had a suite. I think they showed them on the scoreboard a few times. These 8 to 10 dudes, and may have only been 6 to 8 guys, but they were definitely having fun and staying warm through liquid courage. But they were loud, and it was just it was funny. But Taj Bradley got a nice ovation that you wouldn't have expected as much noise as there was last night, seeing the group that was there as far as the fans. But April's always this way. It's always empty. We always have this. It'll go up on Awful Announcing or something. They'll show shots of just full sections of the stadium empty. That's how it always is in April. This one's going to be even. Let's see how long that extends, because I do expect there will be fewer fans in the seats this year. That's just how it's going to be. But I don't really look at attendance until we get to those first couple weekends when the weather turns, because school's in. That's something that every team deals with. That's why nobody wants to be home at April. No single team, even the good weather teams, they don't want the April games because kids are in school, and that natural crowd, the crowd that, Zach, that you represent, bring the kids out when it's like nice weather and like just take the kids to a game. No team wants April games. It typically, like, the attendance is down. So that said, there's not a lot of butts in the seats. The figures that we've heard are announced tickets distributed, and it was like 12,670 and then 12,341. That, if that's the bottom number, if that's the floor, that is higher than last year's floor. But that means, just my guess is, that means the Twins sold a lot of those Twins passes that, like maybe more than they have in the past, because like that, it's going to be interesting. Let's just say that the attendance will be something we monitor all year.
With over 35 million downloads, what is the number one rated ticketing app, Todd Father?
It's simple, man. SeatGeek, as we know, man. They have a lot of things that helps you out along the way. They have green dots meaning good and red dots meaning bad, and it's on a scale of 1 to 10 showing you, Scott, how good the seats are. And sometimes you want to sit in the nosebleeds, or sometimes you want to sit in really good seats. And Scott, you know the code, right?
Yeah, I do. And also, I know that you always like a good deal.
Always.
So SeatGeek helps you out all the time with that. They also help you out with the exclusive FT code, which is Territory10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code TERRITORY10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app, and you can have that code automatically added to your account so that you can use it later. There are regular season MLB games going on right now. There are hot tickets across the country, so make sure you go to SeatGeek. They will take care of you.
I was going to ask why we can't, there's like 18 teams, depending on your definition, that play either in warmer areas or in domes or both. So is that the reason why they can't just host all the April games, because nobody wants to host April games, even if
I mean, that is a big driving factor with teams, is that they know that there's just less natural crowd in April, and also the weather is more spotty in April. And it would be great if the Twins opened in Houston and then went to San Diego and all those, but there's a solid request from teams not to play too much at home in April.
All right. Well, there you have it. So we will continue to debate Pollad hatred or weather?
It's still strong. Come on, the Hope-O-Meter says it. And by the way, it was really funny. The one thing I did go online last night and I did look, and it was funny because those 4.3 percenters were like, if you're not in the 4.3%, you can't enjoy this quite as much.
That's true.
True.
I mean, it just takes contention, right? If they're contending in August and September, like for real,
Right.
the fans will be there. Maybe not every game, but that's what it'll take. And maybe not everybody will come back, but I imagine a lot of people.
I bet we'll still only be at 60% of everybody coming back, to be honest. I do think it's real. I mean, I do think it's real. I do think the fan anger is real, and I'm definitely not downplaying it at all because you can sense it everywhere. It was a miserable offseason for that reason. So it is very real, and I don't think some people will come back till the Pollads are gone. But there will, if this team contends if they play the way they have, there will be fans out there because it is an enjoyable team more than maybe people wanted to give it credit for.
Back to the games, a big one yesterday, as we mentioned, as the Twins took down Tarik Skubal and the Tigers, 2-time defending Cy Young winner, and a big game for Taj Bradley as well. By the way, if you notice, we've added fancy graphics to the podcast. That is because Dan Hayes is no longer running the podcast.
Yes.
So please send any feedback our way as we play around with what's possible here. Anyway, Taj Bradley, another strong outing, 6.1 inning. Why do I say 6.1? 6 1/3 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, 1 run allowed, and outdueled the best pitcher in the game. And the team that can't hit lefty pitchers, guys, decided to go ahead and do it against the best pitcher in the game.
Yeah, man. That's we were texting last night. You know, there's those teams sometimes that can just get to starters. Mine. I remember vividly watching Chris Sale. You know, we were talking about it. It's happened the other day, but he's whacking himself with a baseball in the first inning. And, one year the Twins just had his number. And, maybe this year the Twins
I'd say 2 years, 2015, 2016.
Dan had that one. But yeah, sometimes you just got a guy, and the beauty of that is if you do, whether it's real or not, every time you come into town and match up with him, he's going to be thinking about this game now, and it may make him angry, but that may also backfire for him, and it's a huge lift for the team to go and beat that guy who just won the Cy Young. That's a team you're going to play all year. Like, that's a big one to get out of the way early and know, like, hey, this isn't, some god we're facing. Like, yes, he's very good, but he can be beaten, and, just limit the mistakes and put up a couple of runs. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it is a very good win. And just to tell you, over the last 3 years, going into last night, Skubal was 4-1, 2.39 ERA, 50 strikeouts, and 13 walks against the Twins in 48 or 49 innings. They had only one win there, and it was 3 years ago, and I didn't even look that up. But I mean, this is a confidence-building win without question. And I think it's funny because early in the day, we were joking in the press box. AAA St. Paul got a hit in the 9th inning against Toledo to break up a no-hitter. Gabby Gonzalez parachuted a ball. They lost 1-0. And we were joking earlier in the day, like, hey, has an organization ever had its AAA and its major league team no-hit by the same other organization on the same day? Because, that's just how – and by the way, those Skubal numbers aren't amazing against the Twins. Those aren't those are just what he is, right? They're not super electric. They're not like Justin Verlander's hold over the Twins for 20 years that he's always had. They're really, really damn good, but it's not like he becomes a lead against them. We saw one performance last summer in Detroit in June on a Sunday Night Baseball where the Twins had no chance. That was one of those days. I think this is a good stepping stone, but even more so for Taj Bradley. Taj Bradley had the rough first inning in Baltimore, but got through it and then pitched 4 1/3 and was really good the rest of the way. He pitched really, I thought, very inspired baseball in Kansas City on Thursday and got 6 innings and got the win. But this was even more of a step forward. This was Detroit, you have no shot. He used his fastball wasn't as good as it has been. Like it topped out at 98, but his command was a little spotty with it last night, and you could see that they were getting some hits off of it. And what the problem was last year when he came over was when the fastball was not great, he didn't have the secondary to pair with it because he had lost feel for his splitter. And he talked about that after the game last night, saying, you wonder if it's going to come back. You spend time thinking about that. He worked crazily on it this offseason, trying to find that grip again. And he found it. And, they were doing metrics dives. They were doing everything they could last year to find it. And it was just gone. But when it's there and you can pair it with a curve and a cutter, he had 15 swings and misses last night in his 104 pitches. One was with the fastball. We've had some starts from him where 8 or 9 are from the fastball. He had 14 between the split got 9. And I wrote about that today at The Athletic pretty heavily. The split got 9 and the curve and the cutter got him another 5 combined. So he got 14 of his swings and misses on 56 off-speed pitches and 1 on a fastball. For him to do that, that's a great blueprint for success when you don't have your best stuff with one pitch. You can rely on others. And, by the way, his others, you can speak to this, Tyler, that pitch quality that he has across the board. I don't think it's a joke when Ryan Jeffers says that there's a guy that has clear ace potential in him just because of those other pitches too.
Yeah, no, out of the gate, he went, I think, first pitch of the game, 97 or whatever, and then went splitter for the punch out. And I can't remember who led off, but they weren't near any of them. And, and it was well, that's how you want to start a baseball game, and it's like you said, he's electric with his fastball alone, but then having multiple other offerings that are legit pitches, it makes going out to start every 5th day a lot more fun than going out there hoping to throw some smoke and mirrors at some people and get some outs. It's here it comes and you're not going to hit it. There's nothing better than that.
So he wasn't exactly I should say this wasn't necessarily a surprise. I think a lot of people saw the good things coming from Bradley this season, but even still, Tyler, how big a boost is that to a team when expectations are met in a way like that to kind of help bolster?
It's huge. It's huge. It's like I said, Shelty. I'm sure he's taking a good temperature of that room. He's got his coaches working at doing that as well, I'm sure. But it's one. Like I said, it's a team we're going to face for the rest of the year. It's going to be a team that wants to be in the playoffs. They were in the playoffs. They've made moves. We get to see Framber go for them tonight. That's a big piece they added. This is a team, no matter what, they're going to be coming down the other end of the road, and you're going to have to get through them at some point. So you might as well, I had this circled last show kind of as a gut check series. These are guys you're going to have to beat. So you might as well do it now and figure out what you're going to be able to maintain and, take notes on this series, figure out if something goes wrong, for each guy, hey, so-and-so got me here, or this guy took an extra bag or whatever it is. This is where that stuff starts to add up. And, when you're going to be the team without the 10 All-Stars in your lineup, you got to take every little advantage you get and run with it. And so I think, this is a good first 2 days, at least, is a good start to that.
Hey, Zach, I want to know on your perspective, they traded Griffin Jax to get this guy. When we talk about the bullpen being torn down, you gave up your second best reliever to get him. And I imagine on your end, seeing something this tangible come back has to be nice when you when you give up so much between that bullpen at the end of the year.
I didn't give up anything, Dan. The team did, but no, as a Minnesota sports fan in general, very used to seeing good players traded away for promise, and it doesn't always work out. So
yeah,
it's early yet, of course, but it's this is what we talked about on the first show and in your kind of season preview article, Dan, on The Athletic, about if everything goes right. Well, this was one of those things that needed to go right for this team to be interesting, especially with Pablo Lopez going down. So
yeah,
yes, the fan base will take it, I'm sure, after all they've been through. And so will the Twins social media account, which decided to have some fun with
coming in hot.
The team social media accounts, God bless them. They have to deal with all of the crap when the team is bad and they're still trying to tweet through it. So last night, you can't blame them for having a little fun. They earlier in the day, they had posted the tweet on the right side of the screen there, pimping up the matchup between Skubal and Bradley, and then calling it a pitching duel, and then they posted this sarcastic apology later when it was, as they say, indeed not a pitching duel. It was pretty good for a while there, but certainly the Twins had the last laugh against Skubal and in the game. And a big reason why is because Luke Keaschall, who only had 2 hits the last 2 nights, but they were the biggest hit in each game, delivered again. So game-winning home run on Monday to make it 5-3. Twins eventually won 7-3, but his homer kind of provided the winning margin. And then Tuesday night against Skubal, the Twins had put 2 runners on, I believe, in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th inning, and not broken through. And then Keaschall finally in the 5th inning delivered the hit with 2 on to get the rally started. And what ended up being a 4-run inning, but guys, a huge breakthrough for him so far in this season.
Yeah, he talking to him before the game Monday, I wanted to gauge. I told you guys I think that he maybe on the Monday show I said I thought that he'd come off the field and gone straight to the cage on Sunday because I saw him come in about the same time we did. No, that was inaccurate. Luke Keaschall had taken a picture on the field with his fiance and had a baseball bat with him. So it was a little more fun than extra work in the cages. But I went over there with the premise of, hey, did you take some extra swings after the game yesterday? And he's like, no, we're talking after BP on Monday. And you could tell, like I was asking him, I'm like, look, this weather sucks. You guys had, in their first 9 games, had played at 7 different start times. So there's like no natural rhythm. This was 2 games in a row at the same time, Monday and Tuesday, 6:40. But they've had 7 different start times, which is just so weird. But it always happens at the start of the year. And I was like, hey, is that a problem? And he said no. And I asked about just cold weather in general and the rest of the team. And like it just became very clear he is a mind over matter guy. He was like, I don't make excuses. I don't like excuses. He said, talk to me on game 162. He's like, this is 9 games. And I totally went in understanding that. It's 9 games and it's a wonky schedule early. And it's like, you never take April into account. April historically is the worst hitting month in baseball. But at the same time, it was funny because he said he was frustrated a little bit. How could you not be? We'd seen him just leg out every infield ground ball to try and reach and not be successful. And so he said in spring, I felt electric. I was firing on all cylinders. It's not happening right now, but also not worried. And I don't know, Derek Shelton mentioned this, the home run the other night being, when you check that first off, how much it can just mean. Because he had 2 walks that night and the homer. And then the single last night was definitely just a huge breakthrough moment against Skubal. But does getting that first big moment out of the way build some confidence for young players? Is that something you've experienced, Duff?
Yeah, huge. I mean, it's for every guy. Even the most tenured vet, I would sure that first time running out onto the field, that first at bat, whatever that what if moment still kind of happens. Not that it's like, the most negative thing in the world, but it is like, all right, I know what I'm capable of. I want it to happen when I want it to happen. And, I joke a lot about like the ball's not doing what I'm telling it to kind of thing when you're pitching. It's like finally, the bat starts listening, the glove starts waking up, things like that. And it's like you said, this between the schedule, the weather, the travel, getting your life settled into, like I mentioned the other day, these guys are like trying to move into an apartment, like renting furniture, setting up cable, like that stuff. I like the guys without wives. I'm not sure how they maintain, because I would have just been living at the field, I think, rather than setting up and dealing with people. So besides all of that, then you go play baseball, and getting that first hit out of the way, the first homer, that first punch out in the big leverage spot, like that's the stuff that, now, okay, we're ready to go, and you look up in a month's past and, good things are happening.
Yeah. No, I think that attitude will benefit him very well. I mean, he just stands out as a ball player to me, and every team needs a ball player, just a guy that's wants to be out there all the time. They have that in Buxton too. There's no question. But to have another guy like that on the position side where they're going to be out there and they're fighting all the time, and if they're there, he said, if I'm out there, I'm ready. I don't care what the temperature is. My body is ready. And that's good mindset to attack a miserable month of home games ahead.
Absolutely.
Of the many question marks surrounding this team, well, there's my first graphical mistake.
Oh man! Wow, Zach.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, your war is down. Your
minor blip. We'll be all right.
Producer.
Yes, that's a rough one. Struck out looking. Of the many question marks surrounding this team this year, the bullpen was probably the biggest. Couple of very strong games, and the next graphic that I was trying to get up before has those stats for you. 6.2. I did it again. 6 2/3 innings pitched, or it's only 1 run allowed. What's that?
6.66.
6.66. Repeating. The Monday, obviously, a little more cushion, 7-3 win, but I guess they had a 4-run lead as well in on Tuesday too. But either way, a solid, encouraging game, a couple of games for the Twins bullpen, Dan.
Yeah, and with the exception of 2, they've done this the whole way. The overall group ERA is 4.35. They've allowed 20 runs on the season, or 20 earned runs on the season. 9 of those came between the Mick Abel piggyback and then the ugly weather game in Kansas City. I think that was 8 runs in 9 innings. Take that away, and I know going into yesterday before they allowed a run, it was like 2.9 for the other games. I know that doesn't count. I know your reliever ERA shows all of them, but I do think that like we've seen more out of this group. There's definitely moxie. There's ways they're like getting guys. I mean, like you look at Taylor Rogers and how many swings and misses he's getting on not fastballs, on off-speed stuff. He's a totally reinvented pitcher, and that's a lot of these guys. I like a lot what I've seen. I think Aaron Gleeman wrote a stat the other day. Cody Funderburk's 7 appearances in the first 10 games tied a Twins record, essentially. There's a lot there that I like. Cole Sands has been good. It's weird when you see it. Like last night, Justin Topa got the save. The night before, Cody Lorison got the save. There's not a guy it's all being funneled to, which we shouldn't be surprised at because they traded 5 guys. There's no Duran to funnel it to. There's no Joe Nathan. There's no actually your pen in 19 was like all 3 of you guys were super talented, and there was actually a lot of hard throwing fastballs there between you, Rogers, and May, but there was no guy that it was being funneled to. Like you guys were all developing. There's similarities in that, but it's definitely something where it's definitely something. That was you pulling me off stage. That was the guy with the cane pulling me off stage.
Just trying to throw you off, man.
But I feel like you look at the group and they're doing it, but there's part of me that wonders how long they can do it for. And because there's not the guy they're funneling it to. That said, I really like what I've seen just collectively because there is a lot of guys that can get outs. It's just not in the blow you away type manner so far.
It is. I kind of compared it in my head at one point, which granted, Trevor May was, on the road to throwing his 100. Raj had started trending. We had all trended in Velo a little bit, but for a minute there, we had kind of the funk factor out of the bullpen where it's like at the kind of the low slot right. You had Trevor over the top. You had Raj from the left side. You had like Hildy mixed in there. We had, I can't remember the other lefty, but we had like different looks. So it's like, if you're not going to have just raw, here it comes stuff, you give guys that they can't keyhole anybody because it's literally coming from a different slot every time. And I think that if you're going to do it, like that's the way to do it other than just here comes 100. And it works. Like it definitely, especially like I used to think about it because I followed them so many times. But like I would follow Irving Santana and Berrios out of the bullpen. Like I'd be the fireman, first one out. And some games I'm like, guys, I'm kind of like the watered down version of them. Like, could we put somebody else in this spot? Irv was ripping 97 one day with his, slider. Barrios is doing his thing. I'm like, they've kind of seen this already, but, you just got to go in and do it. But to that point, having the different look and being able to mix it up. And there's definitely, the funk factor with a few of those guys out there. And I think that's going to, be something that can be maintained throughout the year, just mixing and matching.
I think of Cleveland's bullpens, and they always, usually have one or two guys that can blow you away, but then they have the Jeff Manships, Dan Oteros, like these guys. They're like doing it and tricking you. Like, I really like what I've seen from Eric Orsi so far, and he gave up one of the runs last night, but it was Kevin McGonigal hit a pitch that might have been 6 inches off the plate. That was a nasty pitch. It's the same as that Junior Caminero home run the other day, where it's like, how did this guy do that? It was a really good piece of hitting, but Orsi's had some nice moments early on. And Cody Funderburk, like I said, Bonda has been fighting it the whole way. You can see it, but he's still got a low ERA so far. And kind of, I feel like that's the kind of stuff this group is going to have to get by on, is just moxie and getting like funk. And Latroy's got his hands full, but I think he's also got a solid group to work with that just doesn't on paper blow people away. And so I understand where skepticism comes from. That said, it would be awesome to have Yohan Duran at the back of the bullpen right now. So
being able to slam that door is an underrated thing to have. And, it's hopefully, at that point, like, hopefully it just keeps working out. It's one you get your 3-run lead or win by 10. It doesn't matter how many you win by. Like, we don't even need to get saves. Just win the ball game. It's blow somebody out.
Yeah. We keep meaning to get to this, and we forget or get caught up in other things, but I don't want to forget today. So we're going to call this, and sorry, those last 2 blips were because I was trying to get too fancy. I apologize. I will learn from my mistakes. Don't worry, everybody. But we're going to call this Story Time with Tyler. Last week in Kansas City, actually, Dan, why don't you set the context here?
Yes. 2 things. One, what really was great about that pitchers duel tweet from the Twins, the apologizing, is earlier in the week the Twins got in some serious trouble. They were on TMZ because last week we didn't know it at the time. We didn't know it when we recorded that Carter Jensen had overslept the Royals catcher, and that's why Salvi played in the game. And Salvi had that throwing error, and it was Salvi's 3rd day in a row. We didn't know that it was because he had overslept and it was a bad situation for him and the Royals. But the Twins, because opening day was the next day, their social media team had this pre-scheduled tweet of an alarm clock saying, "Wake up, it's opening day." And I saw the receipts. The social media team sits right behind us in the press box. I saw the receipts. They literally planned that on February 8th. They were like, hey, it's opening day. So it's a natural thing. The timing of it is horrendous. It makes you go, okay. Also, somebody, someone might have wanted to catch that because you pre-schedule things on social media. I understand that. Someone would have an edit, a last minute check that might have been helpful, but they ended up on TMZ for that. So they had to be, they were contrite about it. They were pretty upset themselves that they were getting called out for it because it was just a random idea they had in the off season, and it lined up with that moment. But Tyler, I believe that you yourself, what is your clock on your phone? What's your phone set to these days?
So military time only for I got a like a little Garmin watch in my phone. Like it is, it's 13:55 or whatever it is. This is my I think it was my first year. I think it was because Tori was there, and that's why I was so terrified. So, Torrey Hunter, Joe, the whole crew's there. We're in Detroit, which not everybody knows, but we don't stay downtown. We stay in Birmingham, which is, 30 minutes, pretty much to the minute. So it's not close. So keep in mind, this is 2015, so there isn't, Uber. You can't just call a ride. So I wake up without an alarm to see the bus leaving. from my window. You can hear the kind of commotion outside. Kind of open my eyes, like, okay, it's not time yet. My alarm didn't go off. Well, the bus is leaving, so I proceed to full panic. Panic pack. Throw all your just everything into a bag. You don't know what's going on. Razor's buzzing in there. Like, I don't care. I have to leave. So run downstairs. The bellman, which they have, luckily, I was like, hey, I need a cab now. So hop in a cab, yellow cab. A lot of people probably never taken one of those before. Watching this, it's like I'm white knuckling in the backseat. I'm like, please get there, please get there. Thank God, luckily, the bus is like right in front of me. So I'm like, hey, just follow them. And when we get there, just hang back for a minute because I don't want them to know that I wasn't on the bus. And so, luckily, thank God, I wasn't an hour late or like had people calling worried about my general health, which, glad everyone's okay. I know Carter, and it's like, it's kind of a tough deal for a rookie, but, you only do that once. So got in and, no sweat off my back, drenched through my dress clothes. We had to wear suits back then too. So it's, a whole nother layer. But, made it to the field, thank God, and kind of just got dressed as quick as I could, got outside. It was like, I wanted no part of anyone asking me where it was, what happened. From then on, I set a couple alarms, make sure it's on the right time. And if I'm in a hotel, I will still call the front desk. That is for sure.
Oh, wow.
Hey, one thing I've learned, one trick I've learned, because I have overslept a few times, but it doesn't matter for us nearly as much because our bosses aren't there. There's no Paul Molitor. My editor is not on the field. Zach's at home with his kids, waiting for my story. He is not there. But I have it on vibrate on the phone, and I put it on the bed now. And there's no way I can sleep through the mattress because you can hear the coils rumbling. Because have you ever been in a hotel room where the AC just nonstop runs because it's so hot out? That's like louder. If your rumble is on the nightstand next to you, I sleep through that all the time. Like, so that happened to me. That happened to me on the first day of spring training with White Sox coverage one year. And the PR director had to call me and be like, Dan, David Robertson's talking in like 20 minutes. You need to be here. Where are you? And I'm like, oh my goodness. So it sucks for the kid. He's hit 2 home runs since then. Looks like he's a pretty good player. And maybe it's good the Twins missed him on Wednesday.
Yeah. So Tyler, there's like just enough people on the bus that it's possible to not go unnoticed if you're not on
those mornings. Yeah, because it's early. It's like a day game. So you play a bunch of night games, especially again Detroit. You get back later because it's a long bus ride, things like that. And those buses are like 9 a.m. Normally there might be like an 8:30 for coaches, but it's a 9 a.m. player bus normally. And so it's like, me, I try to sleep as much as I can. So it's like set alarm for 8:50, like get up, go. So once I miss it, like all bets are off. And it was fun. Like thinking about it still kind of gets me a little on edge here, but and it's still, you still miss buses. Like I said, now it's just the beauty of it. It's like, oh, I can have an Uber here, ride in my own Suburban in 3 seconds, but back then it was literally calling a cab, and it was, you get to the field, you look at the other young guys, you're like, oh my God, like, can you believe this happened?
Wait, how much time did it take you if you caught up to the bus? And I know buses are slow, right? I get that. But are we talking like, did it take you like 6 or like 9 minutes to get out of that room?
Maybe. It's when that kind of adrenaline spike hits and it's like, you don't know what's coming. Cause this is back when, hazing, you could still like mess with people a little bit. And so I was just petrified, like what's going to happen if I'm not there? And luckily, like Tori was incredible. Like Joe Mauer wasn't going to cut my clothes up or anything, so I wasn't too concerned, but at the same time, I was like, Eddie Guardado's bullpen coach, he might do something. It's a little less stable. But it was all great, and I survived it, and now I will never be late except for when I take my kids to school.
Wait, I had one more story time with Tyler request here because I wrote, so Cody Lorison, when he got to save their night, got a beer shower. And great effort from Cody Lorison, and like came in and got out of the jam in the 8th and got the 2 outs. And then when Vic Caratini got the 2-run single to extend the lead to 7-3. Cole Sands got to sit down. Cole Sands has worked a ton. He worked 2 innings on Sunday.
Yeah.
So him getting to sit down, huge deal. Lorison gets to save. Afterwards, asked him, because his hair looked, a little suspect.
Off.
And and I said, did you get a beer shower? And he said, yes. And so when I wrote it, I said, beer and other substances. And people freaked out on the internet, and like a few guys freaked out on the internet. And I said, well, look, I didn't want to ask him everything that's in there, but can you give us an idea of everything that's in there in a beer shower?
Yeah, it kind of depends where you are. Like, they happen on the road, and you get kind of whatever's in the bathroom. It can be things, which I said, again, that's not helping the cause.
Okay, yeah. Like, hang on a second. There's lots of things.
There's a lot of soap. There's just endless supplies of soap because there's, hundreds of people showering throughout the course of the season. So, soap, things like that. At home, on the other hand, the kitchen in Minnesota is very close to where the showers are. A lot of easy access to other products. And so I've seen like the big tubs of mayo, like the gallon that you get at Costco, mustard, ketchup. I remember Snow one time, I think he grabbed a bottle of like chocolate milk, baby powder, like just what it ends up doing, it just gets caked on whoever the poor soul is at the bottom of the pile. And it's just, and the smell, honestly, what happens too, because then it's like a steamy shower and there's like mustard and like Worcestershire sauce on the ground. And it's just like, it literally smells like vomit. But it's so worth it because you won a game in the big league. So it's the ultimate rite of passage. And, and then you get the baby powder is the worst because it ends up getting in everyone's eyes and like you're breathing it, coughing. It's such a fun thing, man. Like there's only one of those, and to get to experience that with the group of guys, I say it a lot, the teams that circulate so much, that one group of guys may only be together for that stretch, and then those faces will change from week to week. And so that's a memory that you'll have forever. It's pretty cool.
He has a full head of hair. He's got a big beard. Like, that is a guy that was not going to be an easy. He said it took him a few extra minutes and I bet you he had to shower again when he got home, found some more.
Well, that's like ketchup gets on you even at dinner or something, like you smell it the next morning, it's like on your finger. It's nothing. Yeah, it's gross. And you're in a laundry, like catching it all. See if you're just hitting it.
I think we're done here. We're not going to top that today. So thank you for the stories, Tyler. 2 more games against the Tigers. Wednesday night, it's Bailey Ober against Framber Valdez, another tough one for the Twins. And then Thursday afternoon, the getaway game, Mick Abel and Jack Flaherty for the Tigers. Twins have not won the series yet, but they won't lose it for the first time this season. Can't lose it. A split at worst. We'll see what happens. And then they head on the road to Toronto on Friday, which I believe is when we will be back with you next. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. For those of you on the podcast version, you will never know what I'm talking about with my technical errors, which hopefully will be fixed by the next show. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Please, if you like what you heard, subscribe and listen again. And we'll see you next time on Twin Cities Territory. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
Later.